What if I told you that every single choice you've ever made was the right one? It's a wild thought, right? Well, that's the massive question at the very heart of the beautiful and beautifully complicated film, Mr. Nobody. So today, we are going to do our best to untangle its maze of infinite possibilities.
The movie kicks off with this really strange but fascinating idea, pigeon superstition. So here's how it works. If you give a pigeon some food, but at totally random times, the pigeon will start repeating whatever it just happened to be doing right before the food showed up. It starts thinking, hey, flapping my left wing got me a snack. I'm going to keep doing that. It's trying to find a pattern where there is no pattern. And you have to wonder, aren't we all a little bit like that pigeon, always trying to make sense of the chaos and connect the dots in our own lives?
And that brings us to our main guy, Nemo Nobody. Now picture this. It's the year 2092. Nemo is 118 years old, and he's the last person on Earth who can actually die. Everybody else has become kind of immortal, so the whole world is glued to their screens watching him. But there's a big problem. His memories are a total disaster, just a jumble of stories that completely contradict each other. And the craziest part? There are no official records of him, anywhere. It's like he never even existed.
Okay, so how do we even begin to unpack this? Here's the plan. First, we're going to look at the puzzle that is old Nemo himself. Then we'll hit rewind and go to the one choice that blew his life into a million pieces. From there, we'll explore his three completely different potential lives. Then we'll get into the super cool science the film uses to explain all this weirdness. And finally, we'll get to the big takeaway, the film's amazing conclusion about what it all means.
All right, let's start with the man of the hour. In 2092, Nemo is basically a rock star. And why? Not because he invented something cool or wrote a great song, but because he's about to die. Seriously, he's the last mortal. But when a journalist shows up trying to get his life story, well, that's when things start to get really, really confusing. I mean, just look at the facts. They don't add up at all. He's clearly 118 years old, but he keeps insisting he's 34. He's the most famous human being alive, the last mortal man. Yet if you look for a birth certificate, a social security number, there's nothing. Zip. He is quite literally a nobody. And the stories he tells of his life, they're all over the map, leaving everyone to wonder which one, if any of them, was his real life. So to make any sense of Nemo's jumbled up memories, we have to go back, way back, to a single critical moment in his childhood. It's a moment many can relate to, sadly, his parents' divorce. But for 9-year-old Nemo, it's not just a sad moment, it's an absolutely impossible choice. This right here, this is the fracture point. You gotta picture it. He's 9, standing on a train platform. His mother's on a train that's pulling away, his father is staying behind. Stay or go. If he stays with his dad, his life could lead to a future with a woman named Jean or another named Elise. If he goes with his mom, that choice leads him to a passionate, unforgettable life with Anna. Each decision doesn't just change his life, it creates a whole new universe of possibilities. And this is where the movie just completely blows your mind. It offers up this incredible idea. What if the 118-year-old Nemo is the result of that 9-year-old boy not choosing? What if because he couldn't make this impossible choice, he just held on to every possible future? He didn't pick one, he lived them all, at least in his imagination. This single, powerful idea is the engine that drives the entire story. So what do these different possibilities actually look like? Well, they play out as 3 totally separate life stories, each one defined by the woman Nemo loves. And each life is a deep dive into a completely different kind of happiness, a different kind of love, and yeah, a different kind of pain.
First up, there's Anna. This is the timeline where he hops on that train with his mom. They end up becoming step-siblings, and of course, they fall hopelessly in love. Their story is that epic, star-crossed romance, an intense, seemingly perfect connection. But as these stories often go, they get tragically torn apart. This life is all about passion and longing.
Then there's Elise. This is one of the futures where he stays with his father. He falls hard for her, but she's in love with someone else. Ouch. Eventually they do get married, but their life is a constant struggle. It's defined by his unconditional devotion to her as she battles severe depression. This path is all about sacrifice and a love that has to endure incredible hardship. And finally, we have Jean. In this timeline, Nemo does everything you're supposed to do. He marries the first girl he can, he gets super rich, buys a huge house, has 2 kids, gets the red convertible. He checks every single box on the list for a successful life. And what does he get for it? He's completely soul-crushingly bored. He has everything he ever thought he wanted,
but feels absolutely nothing.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. How can all these contradictory stories exist at the same time? Well, this is where the movie gets really clever. It actually grounds all its philosophical ideas in some pretty fascinating real-world scientific concepts. This is where the impossible logic of Nemo's life suddenly starts to click.
The film leans hard into the butterfly effect. You know, the idea that a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and sets off a tornado in Texas. Nemo gives a perfect example. He says the reason he lost Anna was because months earlier, a guy in Brazil boiled an egg. The steam from that egg caused a tiny change in weather patterns that eventually led to a raindrop falling in another country, smudging the ink on Anna's address. It's a wild illustration of how our lives are at the mercy of a billion tiny, random events. The film also talks about why we only experience time moving forward. It's all about a concept called entropy, or the arrow of time. Think of it this way. Smoke leaves a cigarette, but it never goes back in. You can't unstir the cream from your coffee. The universe always moves from order to chaos or disorder. That forward march is why we remember the past but not the future. But what if that could change?
And this is where the movie gets seriously mind-bending. It introduces a theory called the Big Crunch, basically the opposite of the Big Bang. It suggests that at the exact moment Nemo dies, the universe will stop expanding and start contracting back in on itself. If that happens, the arrow of time could actually reverse. And for Nemo, who exists right at that cosmic turning point, time is no longer a straight line. He can remember the future just as easily as he remembers the past. It's wild stuff.
So, let's bring it all together. We have the scattered memories, the impossible choice, and the mind-bending science. But what's the final answer? What's the secret at the center of this whole mystery?
This is the question, right? The one the reporter keeps asking, the one we've been asking this whole time. The life with Anna, the life with Elise, or the life with Gene? The one where he died young, or the one where he lived to be 118? Which one actually happened? Which one was the right one?
And here it is, the beautiful, stunning answer. None of them happened. Not in reality, anyway. The film reveals that Old Man Nemo isn't really an old man remembering his past. He is the consciousness of that 9-year-old boy on the train platform. Unable to choose, he decided to explore every single possible future in his imagination before making a move. Every life we saw was just a what if.
This quote just says it all perfectly. The movie's ultimate message isn't about trying to find the one best path through life. It's about seeing that every single choice, every potential life, has its own meaning, its own happiness, and its own heartbreak. No single path is better than another. They're just different.
And that's what Mr. Nobody leaves us with, this one powerful thought. If every path is the right path, what does that mean for your choices? It kind of takes the pressure off, you know? It suggests we should stop agonizing over making the perfect choice. Maybe the meaning of our life isn't found in the outcome, but just in the living of it, whichever path we end up on. It's a pretty profound way to think about the roads not taken, and the one you're on right now.